Alright, hey everyone, JNAP here, Jared Napolitano, the, current organizational advancement advocate, former marketing advocate, and one of the main organizers of the retro online league that the Star Wars CCG Players Committee runs. Here for a stream tonight. I'm using a couple replays from a match a few days ago. So this match was played, I think, on like the first day of the Retro Online Championship Series that kicked off. If you're not familiar with that, it's this special add-on playoff to the Retro League. This is the first time we're doing this. Basically just started a couple days ago. This matchup is between the 1 seed Paul Todd Feldman, aka DRTORCH, and the 5 seed Eddie Zwabowski, aka Nrabbit, who was the 5 seed. So there was like a shuffle between the top 4 and the bottom 4. So they just happened to get matched up 1 versus 5. So they played this, I think, on Tuesday or when? Nah, it might have been Wednesday last week. So that would have been December 4th. Today's December 9th. We didn't have a live streamer on the event, so we got the replays, and we're going to do that from Eddie's perspective. I guess I hate to spoil it if you, but yeah, we'll do Eddie's perspective. We'll call it that way. So I have the replays. We'll get through here. There are a couple times where I have notes I want to remember to block out on the screen the verify of the opponent's reserve deck. We're trying to make these replays replicate how a live stream would go. So basically when you're a third-party observer on GEMP, which is where all these games are played, and if you're not familiar with that, it's on play.starwarsccg.org. And so you get like this third-person perspective where you're not able to see the opponent's hands. In this case, you will be able to see one player's hands, but you won't be able to see the other. When there are searches in the reserve deck, if those fail, the opponent gets to see that, but a spectator would not. So that's where we're going to try to block those off in an attempt to have everyone have the same amount of information, all the remaining 4 players as we go through this top 8. The decks were submitted, they were locked. Each player has to keep the same deck for the quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. Obviously, once these matches are done, light side, dark side, whoever advances, those players are knocked out if they did not advance. And then we'll crown a winner, and there's some really cool prizes for this event. There are prizes for participation, performance, and all different 5 events for the Retro League throughout the year, and then there's some for cumulative participation, performance. Those are going to be going out in the next couple weeks if they haven't been gone out already. And once these wrap up, these 8 players who participated in this will receive their prizes too. So, I expect the majority of people will watch this on replay on the YouTube channel, but we wanted to get this done before the semifinals formally kick off, so all players have access to the same amount of information. So with that preamble, we'll jump in here. So this is going to be the first matchup. DRTORCH is going to play as dark, and Nrabbit's going to be light. At least I'm pretty sure this is the order. I'm pretty sure this was game 1. This is the order that Eddie provided me the replays in. When I actually previewed these, I actually watched them in the opposite order. So where DRTORCH was light and the opposite. So I have a couple notes here. I'm going to basically hide the screen once we get to the parts where there verifies. It is the other order, Eddie. Okay, so Eddie, you were, I think he's in the chat. So I started dark. So given that, let's do this one first. I think that'll make more sense for context, especially as we get towards the end of the matchups. So I have these both booted up. And big thanks to Eddie. He's been a huge commentator for a lot of the retro events, and obviously Steve Sanders, who's been the primary tournament organizer, director for, I shouldn't say primary, he is the tournament director for the league. All right, so we'll jump right in here with the action. We see DRTORCH and stuff like that. That's obviously Eddie's perspective where he's looking at his reserve deck, so that's not what I'm really concerned about in terms of hiding the verifies. So we have ISB versus MWYHL. Pretty classic matchup in this. I should mention this too. This is obviously premiered to Death Star 2 format. This was subject to a vote based on the participants for the top 8, and this was the format that I think this is like really the golden format for retro. I think it was, there's still a lot of cheese, but it's just a really, really good format. It's my favorite retro format. So ISB, MWYHL, obviously probably is Rachel for dark side, probably going to be Rachel for light side. We have our opening kind of tutors, and right off the bat, DRTORCH grabs Imperial Command with what are you trying to push on us? So we have Wise Advice, which will help with the training destinies, got some docking-based insurrection battle plan to kind of slow the tempo and make it battling for free, obviously. Dark Side has Imperial Rest Order, the Mirror of Insurrection, mode points, resistance, which helps against inserts. As long as you occupy 3 battlegrounds, or opponent occupies none, you lose no more than 2 forts for each 4-strain or insert card. A lot of times that's going to be Anger for Your Aggression, or Never Tell Me the Odds in this case. So Eddie, his first turn just draws up, gets a Docking Bay out, I believe. No Docking Bay out. He pulled Ozzel with the command and pulled the Executor and just built his hand. So we'll have here, yeah, I have my notes here. I just want to make sure I don't forget to do the pause on the verifies. There actually there's only a few. There's only 3 throughout the course, and 2 of the cases there was only 2 and 3 cards left in the reserve deck, so really not a tremendous deal. But again, trying to replicate a live matchup. So just still got early standard setup. Dr. Torch gets out a couple 1-0 Docking Bays, Yoda as well, and does not draw any, doesn't have any force left to draw. So here comes Eddie, gives up a verify because there's no Docking Bays in his reserve deck. Gonna put out the 1-0 for the Executor. The Docking Bay, that is, Piet goes down for -2. Obviously, pretty good pull chain with him where he gets a Commander or an Admiral's Order. Typically, you'll see Commander Marajik. We have Chirnu go down as well to pair up with Piet just in case Dr. Torch might be running some spies, although he's only activating 8, and then just draws. So just so Piet isn't completely alone. So obviously with that, look for the Docking Bay. Eddie probably saw that Commander Marajik was not in the reserve deck, which would have helped him. Yeah, there you go. He's towards the bottom of the reserve deck there, and that'll get his pull chain going for his systems. This is Dr. Torch turn 2. He's going to start setting up his Jedi test with Daughter of Skywalker, who of course can be trained in place of Luke by Mind Which You Have Learned. Let me make myself a little, this will work. Yeah, move myself over here a little bit. And then, pause it. One of the good things of doing replays though is it actually goes a little quicker because players, obviously when you're doing a live game, players are understandably like using their time, thinking, planning. With a replay, you can speed it up. You can, and you basically just see the meat of the the game, so to speak. So I think we'll be able to get these two streams for this match out. I'd be shocked if we go more than an hour. Probably gonna be a lot less. All right, and then Dr. Torch draws up. So both players, as we enter turn 3, yeah. Dr. Torch uses the training area to upload Jedi Test 2. And now Eddie's got 10 force to work with. Here comes Marajik. And he's going to start getting out some systems. So Eddie gets some more activation, gets some battlegrounds out, some ways to threaten damage. And then just a heads up too while I'm doing this, like a PSA. So 2 of the 4 quarterfinals have already been streamed. And they're on, these are the Twitch links. Again, this is, go to the forum, search forum board index and search for retro, and you'll get to this this area if you're not familiar with it. But Timo versus Tony, they played yesterday, which was Sunday the 8th, and I think Garrett might have covered that, or maybe Eddie did. I think it was from the PC channel, so it might have been Garrett. And then Brad and Matt played. That's going to be covered in the next couple days. We got those replays as well, so this will be done similarly. It's probably not going to be me. It's probably going to be Eddie or Timo, or Timo. We're going to cover that again, so that whoever advanced here, their opponent gets to see it, even though we're just trying to make sure everyone has the same amount of information. All right, so let me go back to the action here. All right, so Eddie's going to upload an effect with Twilight Advisor. And reactor terminal goes out, and then, like I said, this is one of the good things with the replay, especially as we're early in the game. We could speed up. So Eddie's just going to draw here up to 12. He's got decree, security precautions. Now, this is where I'm going to hide because in the control phase is when Dr. Torch gives up a verify. So let me just put this block up. There we go. So no one should be able to see the screen. So I'm just going to go through the activation phase. I think it's when he looks for a Jedi test. So he's going to attempt the Jedi test, which you guys are missing. He draws a 7. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So he draws an intruder missile. And I think it could be worse. So 7 and a 4, obviously he's going to choose the 7. He gets to add some with Wise Advice, with Yoda, with Dagobah Sights, so he gets a total destiny of 11. Prentice's ability is 5, so easily passes. I think he only needed over the 12. We get an Add a Commission played, which gets prepared defenses. Out comes the bog clearing. Maybe I missed the verify. Maybe I wrote the wrong turn. I'm sorry, everyone. It's turn 4. This is turn 3. Okay. So yeah, so we're not doing this perfect, but again, rather safe than sorry. And then you guys, you'll see, I said exactly what happened. Intruder missile, it could be worse. Out of commission. For defenses was popped. Draw their fire now is out. Jedi Strength was deployed with the bog clearing also from reserve deck. So that's everything that happened. And you can see that in the board state. So it's actually deploy control phase turn 4 for DRTORCH. So it'll be the next turn. We'll do that little nuanced situation of hiding the reserve deck verify. All right, so here comes Eddie's turn. He's going to use reactor terminal, put a few cards back. And I guess I was trying not to spoil it, but I again, we're concerned with Paul Feldman's reserve deck because he ultimately wins. I guess I hate to spoil it, but some people might be watching and be like, wait, why are we seeing Eddie's entire deck? We're seeing his hand, we're seeing his reserve deck verifies, but we'll see how it happens with this. All right, so Sullust comes out via Marajik. Security Precautions gets Eddie some more activation here. Death Squadron Star Destroyer. Oslo goes on the Star Destroyer. 4 force left to work for Eddie. He's going to drop an Outer Rim Scout. And he's not quite flipped yet. I think he's got 3. I think Marajik, Outer Rim Scout, and Oslo are all items. Alright. Maybe we'll clip that out. But yeah. So, moving along here with the Jedi test. Out of commission, turns the destiny into a 9. And total turning destiny at 10. So he's gonna she's gonna easily pass the second Jedi test. Beggar comes out. Anger for Your Aggression goes in. Eddie's gonna play Projected Telepathy to cancel it immediately because it can be played to cancel it either before or after. Whether it's when it's inserted or when it's revealed. So obviously, I mean, strategically wise, this is going to be a grindy game. The force sharing bonuses that ISB objective provides are going to be negated because of Great Warrior, Jedi Test 1. Torch comes down here, establishes at the docking bay 94 with EPP Obi and Or Marco. Try to threaten some damage now to match Eddie's threatened damage of 1. Alright, so Marajik is going to get Fondor, which of course is very helpful in making the Executor deploy -5, so it's only 10 instead of the printed 15. And Marajik is going to transfer over during Eddie's move phase, and he's just going to draw to replenish his hand, which is only down to 4 right now, whereas Torch has got 12. Draw some cards here. So you cannot hide forever. Attack position now. Overload. Pretty crafty card against like EPPs. Hell to Pay. And he does not have enforcement out, so he's not going to be able to deploy Hell to Pay on any effect this turn because it's going to cost 3. This is Torch's turn 5. Eddie tosses You Cannot Hide Forever, figuring it's probably not going to be numbers. Never tell me the odds coming from DRTORCH with all these mains on the table of Destiny's only one. Stonepile is going to steal a couple cards here. Basically use 2 force and burn a card to steal 2 of the opponent's cards, at least temporarily. And DRTORCH is just going to draw and stay at 12. Right, we got a couple of reverts. When I watch these before, the reverts, sometimes the reverts break the replay, but that did not seem like it was the case. I worked through all the reverts. So he's going to play Twilight Advisor to go grab an effect. Lateral damage. Doesn't have any starships in hand now to go attack Red Leader. But you know, if you draw some, you can go threaten. Alright, so if it could be worse. This is one when I watched the replay, I was kind of curious if it made sense to burn the grabber on it when to do one or the other, either grab it or use Tarkin's orders to cancel it. Especially for only well, it was a loss of 2, so that probably makes sense to do both, to grab it and cancel it. So now Torch spent his 2 force, still has to peel the 2, lost some wonders, and transmission terminated. Eddie's going to look at his reserve deck for Docking Bay. Drops the Admiral's Order. One of my favorite things about these formats is how many like effects there are. Because over time they segued into like defensive shields, so there's more like there's still a lot of cards on the table on the sideboard here, or not, maybe sideboard's the wrong word, but they kind of take a lot of different forms over time, over the evolution of the game. Alright, so Eddie draws, passes the turn, and now I'm going to do that thing where I hide, because there's going to be the second of 3 verifies that happen. I'll just narrate what happens for just a moment as we get through this next phase. Yeah, so there's the verify. He did it right in his control phase. There's only 2 cards in reserve. You all couldn't see that. Now he just drains, and now I'll turn off this block. So Eddie loses Darth Vader lightsaber because I think he wasn't he? No, he was not. Prepared defenses. Alright, so down comes second stone pile because it's got 2 dots. Steals another 2 cards. One of them being Outer Rim Scout, and the other one I probably should have noticed, but it was the first card there. Landing Claw, everyone's favorite pesky card. We saw Homing Beacon on the, I think Homing Beacon, let's see, Scomp Link Access. I think Homing Beacon is a counter to Landing Claw, if I'm not mistaken. To plan upon either concealed, your starships may move for free during your main phase, may cancel Landing Claw on the starship. Yeah, so it's a counter to the pesky Landing Claw. So now DRTORCH will just draw, ran away with Red Leader, and is going to pass the turn to Eddie, who's going to have the ability to pay 6 to drain for 1/1. There, yeah, so there's lightsaber. APB Vader gets popped out of play with out of commission. Probably the favorite card of our lead advocate, Scott Lingrell. And DRTORCH is going to draw some more. Goes above the 12 card threshold. Of course, Eddie's sitting here, as you all can see, with a Monarch that he's going to play. Another out of commission. There goes the Tarkin's orders. And you know, he plays it used. Torch does not have a grabber, so that Monarch's gonna float around for a little bit. We have Life Force. Torch is gonna be up 8 in hand, and no more. Yeah, he's gonna be up 4 in hand. 22 to 24 face down, so it's pretty close here. Both players starting a couple damage. Reactor Terminal is going to put back a command, and U3P is going to come down to block this ground drain. I'll speed up just a tad here. And Eddie really needs to replenish his hand here. Stonepile stole 4 cards. I see he's putting them cards on the table, and then he's going to build back up here. First strike, there's a Homing Beacon. There's a couple of more starships where you can, you know, combine to threaten Red Leader. He's got Gravity Shadow, so he's got some stuff to deal with Red Leader. Kick him out of space. Disallow DRTORCH from Satisfying Battle Plan. Torch is going to play Grimtosh during his activate phase, reveals Eddie's hand, and he's going to pay to drain for 2 at Sullust. Of course, Eddie can retrieve these ISB agents if they're not getting placed out of play without a commission. Comes another Anger, Fear, Aggression. Staple card for this format. Eddie's going to play Masterful Move to look for a card during Torch's battle phase, gets that Monarch back, and now he can track that 6. Gravity Shadow is a card that I always feel like you have to use 1 force to play, but you don't. You could just play it for free when it starts to move. And Eddie draws a 2, which was not tracked because he just shuffled with the Masterful Move, but nails the red leader, red 1 on the nose, so it's lost. It's not sent back to the original location, which would happen if the Destiny was greater, of course. And now Torch transits Obi-Wan over to the Executor docking bay, so he can threaten a drain of 1 here at this non-battleground. But yeah, pretty grindy game here with just 1 here, 1 there. ISB would typically shut down drains on the ground if there's a lot of like related sites, and of course Great Warriors shutting down the drain bonuses. Now we're here at turn 8. Boskin Bus. Boskin Houndstooth, of course, looks like he's on a bus. Gonna put an Outer Rim Scout here, and Eddie flips. I didn't realize this on like the first time watching this, but yeah, wasn't able to flip the objective until turn 8. Drops another Death Squadron Star Destroyer, so now he can start covering these 3 battleground systems. And he's going to eat the 4 to Anger, Fear, Aggression, Dominator, First Strike, Tarlic Advisor, Jonas, Ladder 2 from the use pile. Bus is going to invade Dagobah. Eddie's going to retrieve Captain Jonas with the objective. And now Torch is going to activate here on turn 8. Eddie's going to lose an agent who hopefully will get a chance to, from his perspective, get a chance to retrieve back as long as he's not placed out of play. And DRTORCH drawn up again. Eddie's holding this Monarch, which he's going to play. And Torch is all the way up to 21 cards in hand. Eddie's going to play it here. This time Torch does have the grabber, so he can take that Monarch out of circulation here. But he's going to have to put all these cards back in his life force. Kind of like an evil traffic control reactor terminal, in a way. Obviously, he doesn't get to pick which cards are going back. Gets it all the way back down to 8. He's probably digging for something. He might have been digging for that grabber, to be honest. That might have been one of the last cards he picked up. But here comes Eddie. On his turn 9, he's going to pay 3 to drain for 1 at Fondor. And Torch loses transmission terminated. A couple ship docking. This is where this game gets a bit grindy. But there is going to be one more verify, so I'm going to hide that. But we got some moving around, ship docking. Bosk is going to land, which is going to trigger a stone pile from being canceled. Cards returned to opponent hand if effect leaves table. If canceled, if opponent occupies the site, so he occupies it. The other thing is that Yoda cannot. There's no battle here. Where present in my battles and attacks happen unless a dark side character of ability greater than 3. So Yoda can't battle the Outer Rim Scout. 2 cards returned to hand. I've lost R2 and the Outer Rim Scout. And Eddie's going to disembark the Outer Rim Scout, move one of the ships to cover all 3 now, and retrieve an agent. And now I'm going to put that block up for one final time here, because the verify happens in the activate phase. So he retrieves 5d6, which you can't see right now, but again, trying to be better safe than sorry. Eddie draws a couple more cards. And Torch uses a signal, pulls an effect, takes Anger, Fear, Aggression. Yeah, so Torch activates does the verify of 3 cards, and now I can take this block off. And I want to do it again for this game, for game 2. But so again, you know, people watching this on replay, especially most relevant to future opponents within the retro OCS. That's where I'm trying to be tactful here. But here comes Anger, Fear, Aggression. As we saw, that was just pulled last turn. So it's just chipping away at Eddie's life force with these pings of 4 that I think they've hit it twice so far, maybe only once. He canceled that first one, and then it was grabbed. Torch is going to draw here. He's got traffic control out so he can cycle cards. Probably has a bunch of used interrupts in his hand. But this is where, you know, either player, you start getting down to the zone, you start wondering of how is this likely to play out, when it makes sense to draw up versus try to keep grinding out the game. There's only 8 cards down. There's a lot of cards in his hand right now. But like I said, probably, it's not like Eddie can just be like, oh, I'm just going to draw up and take the loss by 8 if he assumes he's going to lose. To try to prevent Torch from cycling cards back with traffic control, because, you know, Torch might have 4 used interrupts in his hand, 5 used interrupts in his hand that he could cycle back. So it might be a little bit of a miscalculation of, you know, just trying to figure out when exactly it makes sense to kind of wave the flag and draw in a match play situation like this. So we see a couple cards tossed by DRTORCH to the drain at Sullust. Anger, Fear, Aggression is going to kick in for 4. And the bus is going to take off. Obviously, Eddie couldn't, it wouldn't make sense for him just to move the scout over and cancel Stonepile, because then he leaves scout vulnerable to getting beaten down by daughter, maybe take some overflow, so he's got to take off. And I think he, you know, probably, I think that's what happens. I'm not sure actually if he's going to land back at the training area to cancel Stonepile or if he's going to just move somewhere else. Eddie cycles Masterful Move. No more DRTORCH or holograms in there. Here comes DRTORCH, paying 3 to drain for 1 over at the docking bay, just chipping away at Eddie's life force. Between that and Anger, Fear, Aggression, they're pretty much doing most of the damage here. Or maybe all the damage, really. And then Torch is just going to advance through. Picked up the speed here as we kind of come in for a landing for this game. And this was game 1. Out of commission, played, gets first strike. And here comes On the Edge. This is probably where Eddie's like, and not that he's totally shocked that this card was played, but like, oh crud, because now Torch, you know, has this card tracked. He put it back with traffic control, at least I'm pretty sure. And now he's going to get a bunch of force back. Fortunately, Eddie has something special planned for them. When opponent is retrieved force using an interrupt or utility effect card, that card is placed out of play. So it's going to place On the Edge out of play. But Torch is still going to get a bunch of cards back, including another Anger, Fear, Aggression, another Stonepile. So those cards just keep, I shouldn't say just keep, they have been retrieved, so now they can come back out and cause Eddie damage. You're going to revert for the Outer Rim Scout to the Executor. It's taken back. He's going to pay 3 to drain. I think he did that before. Oh, excuse me. Reactor Terminal, Outer Rim Scout. Eddie here is probably getting to the point of like just grinding diff, because there's probably more like on the edges too. Although, I mean, he's definitely forcing more, we'll say more stable damage with these drains, but paying for them is going to get kind of tight. Here comes a Grimtosh, lost, did not get any duplicates. Torch keeps chipping away with that 3. Yeah, there was the landing we saw at the end of the turn. Anakin's lightsaber comes out. We get a draw their fire swing, where force retrieval. Yeah, so Mind with You learned force cards on deck but cannot contribute to force retrieval. So that's where he didn't get the retrieval from draw their fire, but he's going to swing at the Outer Rim Scout with Anakin's lightsaber. Or I guess she, I'm thinking he, meaning DRTORCH, but daughter hits, draws a 5, does not get Battle Destiny, not only because he doesn't have, because of Jedi Test 2, but also because with the, he doesn't get the ability for the landed Starship. The pilot there, and he's going to peel 3. Overload to kill daughter, so Eddie has the 0 tracked. So that's going to kill daughter off the table, which my understanding is, I guess that's only, yeah, place Luke's completed Jedi test on table. So they're on table. So it's actually worse on the flip side, because they don't get suspended. If I'm reading this correctly, they don't get suspended when they're lost, because you deploy them on the table. But once you flip, if Luke is taken into hand or Luke leaves the table, they are suspended. Luke's Jedi tests are suspended, not lost, whenever Luke not on table. So, yeah, because Eddie says in the chat, yeah, he should have gone for Obi. Yeah, because then that would have got rid of this 1 point of damage that Torch is just cramming through. It's like his one main thing, that and the Anger, Fear, Aggression. And of course, Eddie's going to have to, he has to activate Force in order to pay for the drains. But activating Force, of course, leaves you open to the Anger, Fear, Aggression. I'll just say nonsense. And Eddie's going to put some cards back. And then it could be worse, which has been grabbed. So that was early in the game. I wasn't positive, but definitely a good grab at this point. Eddie's going to retrieve an Outer Rim Scout, so he's got 7 cards face down, which is 8 less than Torch. They have the same amount of cards in hand. But now Torch just gets in the late game here, and he's got all these kind of tricky, annoying cards to anyone, where MWYHL have learned can just pretty much stabilize here, even though it's only draining for 1 force at a non-battleground. Torch is going to hang in here through the end. So yeah, so Eddie's going to drain. Yeah, I'm just going to go kind of quickly here because not too much else happens. So this is game 1. So it has to be played out to the end to get to know what the differential is and how it impacts game 2. So Torch just drains for 3. Another stone pile, steals a couple cards. There's the Anger, Fear, Aggression we saw. The 2 of them retrieve with that on the edge. So, and Torch is probably, and I'm sure Eddie too, they're tracking their cards around the life force, finding cards they need. Light side peels a couple there. Get a verify for dark side. And Lando and Falcon, Malos. So that's going to draw Battle Destiny. Ability 7. You only need 4. It's not like it's that Kessel, which requires ability 6 for light side. Dark does not get Battle Destiny because of a Jedi's strength. Jedi test 2. This only has ability of 1, and then these are what? 2 and 2. Yeah, Shiranu, or Shiranu, I think I've been told is the correct pronunciation. Marajek, he draws a 7. And that's going to knock off both pilots. And Eddie's going to pull an Outer Rim Scout. And he's just kind of a rock and hard place here of needing force, but not being able to really have the force to fight through an Anger, Fear, Aggression situation. Outer Rim Scout gets back. Actually, I think he does battle here. Yep, there we go. But he's not going to be able to draw Battle Destiny. The Scout's going to be excluded, but he gets the first strikes or the draw their fire swing. And doesn't lose the 4 to Anger, Fear, Aggression. He's going to retrieve, just keep trying to grind down Torch. He's now down to 0 cards in hand. But of course not, you know, that's planned with traffic control. And Torch going to drop a bunch. And this was interesting because, yeah, as we'll see here as we come in towards the end, so Eddie's just going to draw up. I was kind of surprised Dr. Torch drew so many here. Because now he's only going to win by 4 force. So he's got 3 and 1 card down. They have the same amount of cards in hand. 19 force in Dr. Torch's lost pile, 16 in Eddie's, and 7 dark side cards out of play. So going into game 2, and I'll update this real quickly as we go into, because someone watching this will probably wonder, what is this game 1, game 2, game 2. Here, I'll do, that's what I'll do, game 2. I'll just do Torch plus 4. Okay. Alright, now we will start the second game. Alright, so this throne room mains verse bring him before me. There's 3 verifies in this game too. 2 of them are really close together in turn 5. So yeah, so bring it before me, throne room. We have the how did we get in this mess? A lot of red cards. Red and locations for Eddie in his opening hand here. Community comes out. Obviously pretty serious force denial deck here. Just give away nothing. Choke with the deploy. I think we just saw Beggar. Yeah, so I'll go a little bit quickly here for the sake of time and for the fact that this early setup. So yeah, so Eddie's got to win this game by 5, basically. He could win by 4 because he had the lost pile advantage. The tiebreaker probably favors him, put it that way. Torch gets Kashyyyk, Marajik. I think he open-handed Marajik, yeah. MWYHL Mui, and doesn't have any force to draw. So here comes Emperor's Power into Torch's hand. Yeah, these early turns just set up here. So Luke's Lightsaber. Yeah, Eddie's digging for some force. He finds a 2-0 with Obi-Wan's Hut. Rest Order. Get a 1-0 Docking Bay out. Emperor's out. There's Eddie going with a 3-card start here with the 2 anti-sense alter effects with Wise Advice, Do or Do Not. So even though Paul has Emperor out and could sense alter anything, basically, he's got protection there. Do or Do Not, Wise Advice. All right, so he uses the signal to grab, draw their fire, and we're going to see a 2-0, draw their fire, which typically you don't want to deploy draw their fire first strike, except right before you're about to battle. I think in these formats, you see it more and it makes sense more to deploy it right before you're not necessarily right before you're going to battle, because you got to respect Monarch and Grimtosh more so. So sometimes it's more valuable to kind of not have the surprise factor of a first strike right before a battle in exchange for funneling some more cards into your hand. So this is good for Eddie, where now he's got the R unit, which can combo with how do we get into this mess to cycle cards in his hand. He picks up another 2-0, and he's got some characters here to deal with too, in case Torch goes to the ground. But obviously with MWYHL Mui, Signer Fleet Systems is going to be expecting lots of ties, lots of space, as we see with Marajik. And Marajik's just going to hang out there, get the activation bonus from mobilization points of +2 at the docking bay. We go into Eddie's turn 4. Of course, he's throne room, so he gets the first turn. Out comes Masasi Headquarters, Beggar. Also another card that sometimes you don't want to drop that right before you can combo a battle with first strike, but sometimes the way the game is going, it just makes sense just to drop it and leverage that force and not utilize it a different way. All right, so now he's got R2, X2. How do we get in this mess? Cycle some cards, and now that he's dumped some cards on the table, everything's got to go back into the use pile, and then he's going to draw a fresh hand with the same amount of cards as before. Chirpa's Hut, Masasi War Room, Insight. So now Eddie's got a slight activation advantage, 17 to 15. Torch is going to pull a TIE Fighter with short range, with good old classic TIE Fighter. And now Eddie's got lots of characters. Wow. 2 Leia, 2 Han, 2 Luke. A Monarch lost here would be brutal. Skywalker's gets the mentor. So he's got a pretty good beat squad here. Sorry about the mess, Clash. More so the Clash. Sorry about the mess, not really could turn into a beatdown card, but obviously here we're going to see Torch is just going to set up in space with the Dreadnought, TIE Fighter, retrieve some cards. Goes to Kashyyyk in addition to Endor. Gets back a force, or was there nothing? I don't think there's anything left in the lost pile there, right? All right, so Piet to the War Room. Moves Marajik over so he's safe, so there's no spy beat down from the light side, and he's going to pass the turn. Alright, so Eddie's got 12 cards in hand, activating 17, he's got 18 total. He's got pieces for a space attack. with the Falcon. You basically do almost do like a Super Falcon. I guess the Super Falcon is typically when Captain Han Solo from Cloud City and EPP Leia, so you get the 3 Battle Destiny. Because EPP Han does not add with Leia. So here comes Leia, who's going to add 1. So right now they're getting 2 Battle Destiny. He has Draw Their Fire out, which, so Paul didn't save anything, and he knew Draw Their Fire was out. So, yeah, so when I watched this the first time, I guess it made no sense to save anything because he's got Beggar anyway. So he might as well say, oh, I'll just use that force for myself rather than let you take it. So we have Luke. So now we're getting 3 Battle Destiny. And as we can see, there's a Skywalker's Enhanced. That's going to add 2. And this is where, yeah, I mean, if Eddie's still watching, like, you're probably getting pretty, you could see, like, wow, you draw really high here. You could basically really take the lead in this game. I mean, you only got to win this game by 5. Uses the Emperor's power to get it. He's got 5 forfeit here, 2 forfeit there. So he could basically soak 14 plus his draw. So there's definitely a way here. But, you know, given the mains, given the number, although he's got most of his, with how did we get in this mess, he's got a lot of his locations out. So he draws 4-5, which is a great start. And then we have a 1. And a 1. And a 1. So that's pretty rough. You know, he definitely, you know, I'm sure he expected to draw 1 or 2 1s, but if he could have gotten a little higher here, he could have done a little more overflow. But Paul draws a 2, and he's only going to peel 3 as a result of this. The Falcon's immune, and the TIE Fighter goes to the use pile. Just keep cycling these things around. So not an ideal situation for Eddie there. But you know, with this deck, even if he drew like a ton overflowing for like 12, the bringing him before me is like pretty resilient. And this is where I'm going to do the block here, because there's actually 2 verifies. So basically the same cards that get verified in the control phase and the deploy phase. Alright, so Beggar goes lost. Torch activates. Pays 3 to drain 2 at Endor. Eddie is going to lose Luke from hand because, of course, he can rejuvenate him with Bringing Before Me from Lost Pile. There's the Verify, the first Verify that you guys all can't see. Dreaded Imperial Starfleet. Here comes the second Verify, which you all can't see. And now I'll turn this block off. He did, with Marajik and with, I think, Arrest Order. Oh no, Force Lightning with Emperor. In case anyone was curious, that's what he did the 2 verifies with. So lateral damage on the Falcon, moves them over, blocks that drain, which would be 2. And he's going to go to his draw phase. So I'll speed this up here a little as we progress through. Torch draws, play short range fighters. Now he's going to play target, or he's going to play Talon Roll. Adds 2 to maneuver, 1 to power with the dark maneuvers, and the lateral damage, making it power 0 because Talon Roll calculates Destiny and Starship's power. So that's just like a brutal combination. Pretty easy, pretty wild that a little TIE Fighter can take out Super Falcon with our heroes Luke, Leia, and Han. But that's I guess the beauty of Star Wars CCG, right? So down comes R2-D2. Eddie's kind of have to work with scratch here a little bit. He doesn't have any ships, so he can't go back to space. Draws a couple, saves a bunch. Loses from reserve deck, Tulska 88. Kind of a balance here, obviously, with Eddie's deck. He's got some high Destiny droids, and obviously Luke is high Destiny, but then he's got some, you know, Destiny 1 mains. As you can see, they never tell me the odds. And Torch is just going to draw. End of turn 6. Eddie's going to look at reserve. He's got a 6 and a 0. He's going to drop Luke from the Lost Pile over to the Homeland Bay, insert, or deployed Beggar. I presume he's going to insert. Yeah, there it is. Never tell me the odds. So he's got 4, 5 with R2, 6 with Luke. So that's 15 to Dr. Torch has got 9. So it's not a brutal. It'd be 6 as Torch plays Monarch here. during his activate phase. Did not get any doubles. We've seen a lot of lost Monarchs and Grimtashes in this match, and I don't know if we saw any dupes get hit. Alright, so Torch peels the 6 to Never Tell Me the Odds. So that was a good unwinding of events for Eddie to try to get back in this. Loses a couple force from hand to Obi's Hut, which he doesn't need. Second copy of Obi's Hut. Yoda's Hut, which he doesn't need now, just because he's already activating 18. He's only got 19 cards face down. Some ties come out for retrieval. So now Torch is going to get got a handful of cards back there. Yeah, he retrieved the 3 with the Squadron and the Emperor's Sword. Uses Beggar for the 1. It's grab, or how do we get in this mess? It's grabbed, so that'll try to curtail Eddie's cycling of cards from hand. But Eddie's going to obviously still go through and cycle his hand here. Probably looking for like a Falcon would be my guess. And he doesn't find it. A couple more man, so many 2-0s. There goes another Never Tell Me the Odds. Dr. Torch plays all powered weapons to upload 2 TIE Fighters. Didn't get all 3. And now Eddie's going to draw a couple more cards. He's got an Obi, he's got a Luke, he's got a Luke Saber. So he's got some pieces to try to set up some ground drains. As Torch peels to the other Never Tell Me the Odds. That's another 6. Obviously the approach here from Torch is it's going to come up eventually. I don't want it to hamstring myself. Let me get these drains through. And it's basically like obviously he's not going to sit here and be like, I'm not going to activate, because he needs the activation to a forward battle plan for his drains, and it's basically a net of 2. When he lost the 6, but now he put through 4. Gets a little wonky sometimes with inserts, so I think it's 13 down for Torch and 6. So as of now, it's 19 total for Torch, 22 total for Eddie, but Torch has a little bit better board control, but of course the Never Tell Me the Odds could add up. So Aura Marker, Aura Marco, Beggar, Revolution comes out for the Hut, so now he's starting a drain of 3 here, because it's been revolved, and a drain of 2 over here with the lightsaber. So now Eddie's turned the tables a decent amount here. Gets a Dreadnought out of play. Got it disarmed. It's spicy. Saying the video a little choppy. I'm on a hardwire right now, so it should be pretty good from my perspective. Hopefully it's better. Let's see a bit. I'm not seeing like dropping frames and whatnot. Usually it tells me that if that's happening. Oh, maybe. Click to read here. A few seconds ago. Here, let me pause. I don't know why it's going to be so choppy. Has it been going on for a while, Eddie, or is it just like recently? We'll just try to get through here. We're getting towards the end here. Again, fortunately not the ideal circumstance. Usually we like to do these live, so we're just doing this replay. So we have this game on record here. And we have a barrier on Obi-Wan to the Hut, but pretty much Torch is probably just trying to cycle the barrier, and it gets canceled with Desperate Reach. And Eddie's just going to draw here, and we're going to have the last Verify as I put up the block here. Torch drains for 2. Actually, no, we canceled it. I think we're good. All right, Coward comes out. So that's big. That really